You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 133, Deep Purple Made in Europe. And coming to you smack diddly dab right in the middle of the suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you soon, once again, from the suburbs of Providence, but not quite yet.
Not yet.
I'm your co-host, John Air Travel Matola.
Did you forget to think of something beforehand?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Air travel.
I did. Well, you know, it's like every day that I've been here, there's been like a new thing, you know, that's happened that we talked about. I'm like, nothing really interesting has come up this morning, or
nothing happened since yesterday. Yeah. So yesterday we recorded our Dead Daisies episode in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then got it out last night, like right before we needed to have it posted.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've done quite a few episodes in the last few days.
Yeah.
But it's fun because it's like we're both off of work. So we just like bang out an episode and then go about our day. It doesn't even seem like we're really doing anything.
But we're all also right here. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to coordinate like two separate states and just be like, oh, I wonder what he's doing. And like, we're like, okay, we're doing everything together. So we're just like,
and we both have irregular work schedules. So it's like, are you working this day? Yeah, I'm working at night. Oh crap, I'm working in the morning. It's like, are you working this day? I'm off. I'm working in the morning, but then I got this thing at night. Now it's just like, oh, we're both here. This piece of cake.
Right. Now we're upstairs, like having a snack, and you're like, you want to go record, knock this out really quick? Yeah, let's do it.
Exactly. It's perfect.
You know, when I'm not, challenging your son in basketball, or
You should want John one-on-one Matola.
oh no,
he destroyed my 9-year-old child in basket in one-on-one.
Well, he wanted it. But he was the one that decided that I was like the basketball guy, you know, just for some reason he's like, I'm the guy. And you know what? I'm like, I'm a physical person. I'm like, I can do this. So went out there and like, I was like, but he was dying too. He's like this little peanut and he's got this like red face and he's like, well, he's dribbling the ball and I'm over here like,
and John's like just smacking the ball out of his hand. Get that out of here.
I mean, I tried to miss some shots to make him feel good.
So Stephen Caldwell says irregular work schedules and irregular shorts. And Rich is asking if you're wearing a swimsuit.
This is not a swimsuit, Rich.
That would be great.
No, these are my, I don't know. I wore these to bed.
Those are his Bill Ward shorts. It's almost the same color as the pants you wore the other day.
Yeah, these are my Bill Ward cutoff specials.
It's weird to even consider leg wear because generally when we record it's like from here up. So like I usually am just wearing like pajama pants or jogging pants or
True.
Sometimes nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
But now it's something I have to, well, it's not, because sometimes I do have to get up and get something. So I don't want to, even if it's just John, I don't want to treat anybody to that. So yeah, we're coming at you with another live album live stream. This time, Deep Purple Made in Europe, which has been on probably one of our most requested episodes for a long time now. People say, which I always joke about on the show. People say, will you ever consider doing this Deep Purple albums? Of course we would. Like,
we'll get to it.
If you look at all 120 whatever episodes that we have out right now, it's clear that we will, if we're doing these weird one-off episodes that nobody ever considered, then we certainly would do anything involving anyone from Deep Purple, and everything is on the table. There's nothing off the table at this point.
If we can do Maine Pizzeria reviews, we can do any Deep Purple related album you request.
Yeah, we're coming at you just a few days after that came out, and I think we got maybe more comments on that than any of our Deep Purple related episodes.
At least recently.
Yeah, it's so many people emailing in, commenting on YouTube, tweeting, whatever it is, direct messages, emails. I can't believe the reception that got. And it was mostly like, because we were like, hey, at the end of the episode, want to do Maine Pizzeria reviews? And then we did it and we realized that went on for 22 minutes. This is already a long episode.
Yeah.
Maybe we should tack this on as a bonus. And it went over very, very well. Rich says he posted a link to the episode on the pizza place's Facebook page.
Oh no. Do they even they can't possibly have a Facebook page. That place is not that well run.
Not even a Facebook page.
Oh
My God, the main pizzeria. Which of course Rich has used his detective training to track down what it actually was.
Send me a picture on Google Maps. He's like, is this it? I'm like, oh boy.
Here we go. He's going to start calling them. I've got a podcast I think that would be of interest to you. All right. So we're doing Made in Europe today. And we talked about this on the Rainbow episode, but if you do want it's a little bit, but this is a great book there. Steve Pilkington's On Track. He's super hilarious guy, very informative. He has the perfect blend of being critical, being complimentary, and also just throwing in some hilarious little asides in all of his stuff. So he does every Deep Purple and Rainbow album up through 1979, and so one of the middle to late albums here is Made in Europe. So he's got some good information in here about the album if you want to check it out. So I highly recommend his books, and he's got books on other bands too, which I haven't purchased, but based on this one, I would recommend anything by Steve Pilkington because he's really great. Other than that, I generally put notes in the show notes where we can get more information about the albums, but I'm sure most of you are very familiar with this album anyway. So before we get started, I want to just remind everyone, if you want to support the show, you can join one of our live streams. Hopefully we'll be able to do this again in the future, maybe try to do some of these live streams on a day off or even a late night stream. Mm-hmm. It's hard balancing between all the time zones. Mm-hmm. Is doing an early morning one doesn't work so great for our American listeners generally, and then doing a late night one definitely doesn't work well for our European listeners. So unless you're like Jonathan Hedlund, who doesn't seem to sleep, he could tune in anytime. So yeah, maybe we could alternate, and every time we do a live album, maybe consider, hey, should we do that a live stream too? Because it's been fun getting some feedback and people in the chat commenting. So
yeah, and it's something that we don't necessarily need to be in the same room to do, although it's been more fun.
Yes, absolutely.
So
it's been a blast. So if you want to support the show, you can leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. You can buy merch at our Etsy store, including, finally, we're actually modeling the merch that John's wearing the podcast shirt there, and then
which looks just like the album.
Yeah, which I should have worn mine, which works perfectly with the album here. So and then you can also become a patron on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can help support the show. And you know what, John? Why don't you entertain them with a quick story? Because I'm going to put on my Deep Purple merch because I'm looking at it right now, and this is going to be quick and easy. So tell them a little something about, I don't know. Tell them about basketball or something. I don't know. You're the basketball expert now.
I am not the basketball expert, even though, like I said, Nate's son thinks that I am. There we go. Really quick.
Yeah, he's asking John all these questions.
He's just like, well,
how tall is LeBron James and how many points does he score?
He's like, John, and these because at first when I came here, they were just like, I would hear, like, I started to like notice things. They'd be like, hey dad, and then all of a sudden I'd start hearing, hey John, and I was like, what's up, buddy? And he's just like, all right, between these, like, if you had to choose who's the best basketball player, who is it? And then he starts listing like 3 people, then it's 4, 5, 6. And then you were just like, all right, why don't we cut these down to like 3 people? Because I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are. Like, I know who like LeBron James and Michael Jordan is. And then he starts listing off.
John's like, it's going to be one of those because I've heard of them.
These random people. And I'm like, I don't know, me. Like, I'm the best.
You're the best basketball player.
Well,
all that untapped potential. If only you'd ever played.
But I have to say it was a lot of fun. I'll have to admit, because I mean, I have nieces, so and I mean, they're younger, and I mean, the older one isn't that athletic yet in terms of like competitive sports, although she is very active. So it was fun. It was fun getting out there and doing that kind of thing, being fun Uncle John.
Fun Uncle John.
You know.
So Rich says he sold your home address to the pizzeria place.
Oh my God.
And both Stevens are down for the late night. And Stephen Colwell saying, if it's late night, there's less chance of his wife walking in saying, hey, I thought you were in a work meeting. This is a work meeting. I don't know what you do, Stephen, but I'm sure this is exactly what all your work meetings look like. Well, we're all used to Zoom at this point. Look at, I just noticed Alan Begg's thing. He says, ain't too proud. He's holding up a sign that says, ain't too proud.
Love it.
That's great. All right. So yeah, so made in Europe. Oh my goodness. Arthur Smith just joined us. Hello, Arthur Smith, the world-renowned drummer, excellent patron and friend and frequent commenter on posts. Great to see you. Yeah, sorry if I'm missing anybody else. I just happened to check him because I saw his video flash on for a second. So yeah, I think we've acknowledged everyone else. Okay, so made in Europe. Oh, before made in Europe. Oh my goodness, I'm so out of sorts. Thanks to our executive level patrons, as we just talked about, at the £10 tier, Dr. Jill Brees. At the turn it up to $11 tier, we have Clay Wambacher, Frank Teelgard Mortensen, Alan Ain't Too Proud to Beg, as displayed in his great his great profile photo. You have to send us a copy of that for the show notes. And Mikkel Steen, thank you to all of you for supporting the show. At the $10 Someone Came tier, we have Steve Seaborg of NameOnAnything.com and AllTheWorldToStage.net, Ryan M., Jeff Bryce, Gerald Kelly, and Victor Campos. Thank you so much to all of you. We really, really appreciate it. Big thanks to Jeff Bryce, who sent lots of great photos and all sorts of stuff about these live albums, and really great seeing some of those liner notes and getting some more information. So he's always got, his collection is second to none. Anytime I tell him about any album, he's like, oh yeah, here's the thing that was in the local paper about it, and here's a scan of the promotional materials they sent out and all this stuff. It's really, really cool. So made in Europe. 3 shows, Graz in Austria on the 4th of April in 1975, Saarbrücken, Germany, the 5th of April, 1975, and Paris, France on April 7th. So all done within a few days. It seems like one of the things Steve Pilkington talks about in this book is that, what is exactly what he says? He says, the materials recorded in April, Graz, Austria, and Saarbrücken. The album does not credit which recordings come from which show, but most of the material supposedly comes from Saarbrücken gig. It has also been claimed that the crowd noise has been doctored, and there's clearly obvious tape loop of the crowd at the end of the album to support this. And I think somebody has mentioned, I read before, that there's like a particular whistle that you hear in the background that is like, woo, but you hear it so many times over the course of the album that you realize it's a loop of some of the crowd noise.
Okay.
We've talked kind of extensively about the piping in of crowd noise in the last few live streams, and I think that the end of the day, we're fine with it. We don't, who cares?
Correct.
Because we're trying to kind of capture that. And if it, it's
but interesting facts.
Like nobody complains in a studio album too if they do any sort of overdubs or anything to create an atmosphere. But one thing they do to try to sweeten up a live album and people get all bent out of shape. So yeah. So and obviously this was so I know that they've released Graz and Paris standalone, those full shows. But Saarbrücken, they've never released the entirety of that show. And I know it's a point of contention. Like so many people from a completionist standpoint are like, you have all 3 made in Japan shows, or is it 4, 3? And then for made in Europe, you've got only 2 of the 3. And it's been years and people are just like, release that last one. We want to hear the whole thing. And maybe it's because of the fact that it would be so similar to made in Europe that they don't do it. But it also seems like, God, there's money to be made. So yeah. Stephen Colwell's taking a break for an actual meeting now, so he'll be back. So one of the interesting things is the Paris gig is going to be the last gig that Ritchie plays with the show. So they've got that captured. I think we must have talked about this years ago on the show, but similarly with Made in Japan, they recorded they knew the end of the band was imminent. They did this recording to kind of say, well, the band's going to implode and fall apart. We're recording some live shows and we're going to release some live albums and try to milk some more money out of this brand and out of this organization. Justly so. It just turns out Made in Japan ended up being one of their biggest sellers and one of the most popular live albums of all time. Made in Europe, not so much, but it was the same premise. It's like, okay, Ritchie's leaving. We're unclear about the future of this band. Let's record some live shows and do another live album, which if you look behind us, and obviously you all know this, but the cover is in no way was in every way trying to rekindle that feeling of Made in Japan. It's very similar sleeve design. and yeah, but they ended up not releasing this until after Mark IV imploded, which is not maybe what they had seen coming, and they did eventually get this out. So personnel on this album, not much to talk about. You know the Mark III lineup. Martin Birch is of course engineering again, with Mick McKenna, who actually worked with the Rolling Stones, probably using that Rolling Stones mobile unit, and Steve Winwood, and he also went on to work with Faith No More, so he was in the business for a bit. And then another engineer is credited as Tapani, who is, and I'm going to get this wrong, Tapani Tapanainen, is a Finnish American audio engineer. He worked extensively with the Rolling Stones, also contributed some work on Burn, and he changed his name to just Talo in 1988. So you can already tell this guy is an eccentric kind of guy. So obviously we've got the Mark III lineup. We've got David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes, Ian Paice, John Lord, Ritchie Blackmore, and yeah, that's pretty much the background of that. Then we get to the album design, which I hear that. So this is once again we're using Norman Weichelbaum's generously donated album that he sent to us. So this is a German pressing. All of his albums he sent to us are German pressings. So you've got the album cover here, beautiful gatefold, that big crowd, which is, if we know anything, I didn't look it up, but if we know anything about live albums, it's probably like a crowd from a Pink Floyd show, or completely unrelated to Deep Purple. Probably had nothing to do with it, or maybe it does. Who knows? And then you've got the great individual shots of the band members. Now, I did read somebody had said that so Jeff Barton and Pete Makowski, who I guess at that time maybe were writing with Sounds. I'm not sure exactly where they were, but I know Jeff Barton, I believe, went on to found Kerrang. So somebody somewhere had said that it uses a live shot of Tommy Bolin in this, but I can't see it. Like on the cover, that looks like Ritchie to me. Oh, way over there on the left.
Let me see.
I mean, it doesn't look like Tommy at all.
No, that's definitely Ritchie's quaff.
It's got to be Ritchie, right? Like on the CD, it's a little harder to tell because it's so small, but on this, it seems very clear that it's Ritchie.
No, it's.
So I don't know if anyone in the chat has anything to add on that, but Alan says it's a Rush crowd. Yeah, that would make sense. Ritchie was just warming up for his stealing of Rush crowds.
Yeah, but I mean, at least this one is a little less obvious than like a obviously, spliced in the thing of people like holding a thing that says "Long Live Rock and Roll," and you're like, that doesn't look real. But
so how did they know what the next album was going to be called?
Yeah, nowhere on this does this.
And Stephen Somerville says this is his first listen to Made in Europe, so that's interesting. Yeah. That's great.
I don't think that Tommy Bolin thing is founded.
I don't know. Well, and maybe there's a different pressing of it, or a different release where that's true. I don't know. Maybe it's the crowd. Maybe the crowd is from not that would matter at all. Just who cares? But yeah. Anyway, that's it. You've got some great, like I said, some little liner notes here. Deep Purple, whether with Rod Evans and Nick Simper, Ian Gillan and Roger Glover, or David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes, were always a guarantee of first-class heavy rock. And then they just kind of go in to talk about a little history of the band. This album also features Coverdale and Hughes, compiled from recordings with 3 European concerts in early 1975, represents Ritchie Blackmore's very last musical contributions to the band. The tracks recorded at the Paris Olympia stemming from his final concert. His departure broke up the all-powerful guitar, keyboards, drum triumvirate, and to many fans, things were never the same again. This album could well represent an epitaph, a final testimony to the greatness of the name of Deep Purple implied. So obviously went on to not be the case, but it certainly had every indication that it would have been. And then, yeah, so like always, we're going to play the actual legitimate vinyl on the show to celebrate Norman Weichelbaum's generous contributions to the show. And then let me just, they'll have a better backdrop. So yeah, we're going to play this. So you'll hear it, cracks, pops, and all. I don't know how much. I haven't gotten to editing any of the other episodes, so we will see what those come out as, if I have to do any additional. But usually I'm putting in filters to removes all the cracks and pops from our weird connection or bandwidth issues. This time I'm going to be leaving everything in. So the company that designed this cover was called Cream. They worked with Snafu, Gentle Giant, for Ian DeRosier there is a big fan, Bay City Rollers, and were recently they worked on a Bobby Harrison's Funkest album, John's favorite album on the show that we've ever done. And they also this company also designed the cover for Sabotage, which I find interesting because that's generally regarded as a pretty poor album cover.
Well, let's say interesting.
Yeah, I always thought it was cool. Like, I don't care, but I mean, it was weird, but
yeah,
maybe they weren't but that would only been a couple years before this. Cover design. Oh, sorry, I got work alarms going off here. Not at work today. So the photography, once again, by Finn Costello. Sleeve notes, I talked about Jeff Barton and Pete Makowski. And cover design by Phil Duffy, who mostly did like a lot of classical album designs, but they were probably like, hey, this is made in Japan, make it look kind of like that. It's interesting. Steve Pilkington says in his book that they used this. He said they returned to this great Stormbringer logo, and they worked in these yellows and blues, which you can see here too, as we ripped them off. But by yeah, got this ripped off. So this cover is a return to form of that, and then they would bring this back eventually. They would start using this logo again in some of their merchandising, though never again on an album cover, unless there's maybe some live album or something.
I think it's one of their best logos.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we really appreciate Brendan Ashbrook for designing this logo for us, making it look so awesome, and being able to get rid of our super crappy early logo. If any of you are old listeners, you'll remember that. I put that together in a few minutes in Photoshop and even by my Photoshop standards, did a pretty poor job. But
we were like, how about this? We're like, great, use it.
Yeah, print it. Let's go. Oh, have fun, Arthur. Arthur has to jump off. He wanted to jump on for a few, so luckily he'll be able to listen to this when it comes out. Okay, so where are we at here? Get my show notes here. I got too many show note pages open. Before we get on and put the needle into this vinyl here, we're going to thank our core level patrons coming into the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, Michael Vader. At the $7 No One Came tier, Richard Fusey. At the episode $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith, and Anton Glaving. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, Kenny Wymore. At the $5.99 Nice Price tier, we have Fielding Fowler. And at the $5 Moneylender tier, Greg Sealby, John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Allman, Alexi the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, James North, Mark Hodgetts, Kev Roberts, Will Porter, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, and Tim Southern Cross Johnson. Thank you so much to all of you. Really appreciate your dedication, support, and all of your fun comments and emails and all the great ways that you all interact with the show. Really, really appreciate it. And we were talking about that the other day, which is, it's so funny. There's so many people that we interact with on a regular basis, whether it's texts, Facebook Messenger, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, Twitter, email, all of these people. But that's still a tiny fraction of it's a small fraction of the overall people who donate to the show and support the show in other ways. And it's a tiny fraction of the people who actually listen. So it's just funny to think that there's people out there that we probably don't even know their names or faces or never had any contact with them, but yet they listen to these two bozos talk about Deep Purple every week. It's just pretty amazing.
It is.
Alan says Paice is still waiting for his copyright percentage. I was telling John the other day, I get these emails or contacts all the time from people who think we are Deep Purple. So clearly they're not listeners or even looked at us or done any sort of research. But I'm getting these emails now from a trademark office in Beijing. That's like they've sent it a few times now where it says, "Dear Mr. Paice and Glover," and then goes into like blah blah something about the trademark in Beijing, and to the point where I'm almost like it's probably a scam, but I'm at the same time I'm like, should I like get in touch with Deep Purple and be like, hey, these people are trying to, because I'd hate to like hear in the news like, oh, Deep Purple's trademark lapsed in Beijing because they didn't do the proper paperwork, and now like they have no copyrights there, and the band's all upset, and I'd be like, oh man, I should have let them know.
But on the other hand, you said if these people are dumb enough that they don't know how to contact the real Deep Purple, maybe you shouldn't be putting them in contact with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's
better.
Probably a scam, or maybe the dumbest trademark office on the face of the earth. It's clearly Deep Purple podcast. Very unlikely the band is doing this. And yeah, you could listen for 3 seconds and clearly see we are not Deep Purple. Okay, so I guess we should, let me just get this audio set up over here. A little bit more complicated than normal. We'll put the needle down on Made in Europe. Here we go. And just let me know for sure if you're hearing it properly. Make sure I get my audio level here. All right. Here we go. Starting to hear the crowd now.
There we go.
All right. I'll watch the chat for a minute, because if I don't keep my eye on the chat and they say they can't hear it, well, it's going to be a very long and boring intro here. Yeah, Alan's asking if Deep Purple's co-owned by Roger Glover. I don't know. Can everybody hear that? Oh, nobody can hear anything. Oh boy, we screwed it up.
What do you mean we?
Okay, it should be a little quiet. So let me stop the audio, and then I'll try to, I have to make myself the host on the other computer, which is I nailed it all the other times. I really blew it this time.
Well, this is why you asked.
Exactly. That's why I didn't close this window. Oh, Alan said very quiet. Okay, so maybe I can just turn up the volume. Let me just double check here. We can also do a test because it is a little quiet at the beginning. So let me go back to the producer. Oh, Alan's being very sarcastic. Okay, let me see. Go back to the participants. Why is this not working? All right, this should make for great podcasts. This should make for great podcasting here. All right, let me get myself back as the host. Yes, change to host. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to share the screen, and I think it might be because I was sharing that other thing earlier, and then I think this is going to work now. All right, so here we go. We are going to go back to starting up again. We'll go. Okay, let's pretend. Okay, all right. Oh my goodness! For the first time ever, I'm dropping the needle on Made in Europe. Let's take a listen. All right. Go. You got the pops and cracks, the fade in of the crowd. You should start hearing something any minute now. Okay, good. Everyone can hear now. Woohoo!
Good.
Now it's like, should I edit that other part out? Who cares? I definitely won't on the YouTube video because that's too much work. A killer opening. Scott Haskin says he hasn't had the same issue with Uriah Heep, but he has had a lot of people saying he's won a lot of money in the European lottery. The trademark issue thing. Well, you're actually connected to the band. We're just rogue.
Rock and roll. I love when Coverdale just says rock and roll.
That's such a great way to open an album. Rock and roll.
I'm gonna say it like that, and then just launch into Burn.
It's so calmly. Yeah. And it's funny to think this is only a year after they Mark III started playing their first shows. Like they got together in the late '73, but they weren't really. When were they playing in '73? Well, the California Jam was only. I guess they started playing in late '73, so it's like a year and change, a year and a half at the most.
I mean, they sound so good here. This is like one of my favorite live albums.
Yeah, Alan says great bass, and yeah, the bass I think comes through more on this than on the studio album. He's also he's being a little more adventurous too.
I think I always liked this album because, like you said before, I knew that it was like Ritchie's last shows.
Yeah.
So it was like, ooh. And then hearing how good he played, how well he played, it was like, wow, that made it even more, like, I don't know, even like amazing, but also tragic that he left.
Yeah, and then when we were listening to this, we knew that that Deep Purple wasn't over, but getting this in the late '70s and not knowing if it'll ever come back is hard. Alan's asking if Glenn was playing a Rickenbacker. So, yeah. It certainly looks like it from the cover. Well, it's definitely a Rickenbacker on the cover if that's from the show. Yeah, and it's interesting, actually, I never noticed, if you look at Glenn Hughes' solo photo from the inside here, he edited out the machine heads on his Rickenbacker for some reason, so it looks really weird. Let's listen to Ritchie's solo. This is so good.
Yeah, Ritchie was like nuts on this.
You can tell he was just sweet. Curly slapping the guitar, is that what I call it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, Ritchie was really into that like fast, like trend picking thing on this whole album, which I really thought was great.
He had a lot of phases in Mark II too, where he just played it for way too long, but it still worked.
Yeah, but you know, it's effective.
I love this like little funky, damn funky.
Whether he admits it or not.
I agree, Alan. What a effing band.
Like you could just tell the energy that was in these performances, especially like this one. And I mean, you figure that this album was probably more authentic than other live albums, because even if they did add in some crowd noise or whatever, if this was released after Deep Purple broke up in the 70s, how are they going to get people to come in and like redo parts?
Right, yeah, exactly. They probably just had it in the bank.
And I mean, this sounds pretty raw.
But it's also like 1975 David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes, John Lord, Ian Paice, and Ritchie Blackmore. Those are all one-take gods right there. They don't need to overdub anything.
No.
Like we've talked about many times, even if John Lord messes something up, he can immediately make it sound perfect. Funky little interlude. Yeah.
Love it.
It's interesting seeing, like, comparing this to like California Jam and the progression over the years. The song has not changed much, but they have put in these little things that they weren't doing earlier.
Right.
Alan Begg wants to all squeeze into the TARDIS and go back to 1975. Be at this show. Absolutely. Kind of change up that ending a little bit. Wow.
Awesome.
So good. So yeah, only 5 songs on this album, so shorter than our other 2.
Yeah, but five quality.
We're going into our 4th version of Mistreated for the past few days.
This is my favorite.
He's calling it already. Well, of course, you know it very well. Like, the results are in. I just saw the Dead Daisies do it. We saw Rainbow do it. We saw Whitesnake. I didn't see, but we heard.
But I always love this intro.
Yeah, that really nice, like, clean but slightly on it, like slightly gritty sound. I think Rich was talking about Burn. He said, great version minus Glenn Hughes whoops and yells. Wow, wow, wow.
Well, he wasn't as crazy as he was on the Cal Jam with it. This probably rivals the studio version as like my favorite.
For me, I think it's California Jam. And I don't know if that's because that might have been the first performance I ever saw of it. Like that quiet part. But yeah, maybe I'll change my mind listening to this version again.
Because I mean, like, you know, Ritchie's playing is just really emotional here. Like Coverdale's just really, you know, bluesy, raw singing, you know, which it didn't seem as bluesy as it was like in the Whitesnake version by the time he got to that one. Seemed like a little cleaner, which I mean, you know, is
Yeah.
Or he sang it maybe a little bit different, but
Kind of clean sounding organ Lord has on this one.
yeah, I mean, I think all the instruments come through on this. You know, you get to appreciate everybody. See that little like hold that Ritchie did, and then a little bit of feedback and like, you know, hitting the strings, and it's just like all that kind of raw stuff really just makes me love this version so much.
Yeah, I have to say the bass on this is sounding better than it does on the album. It has that perfect snarl and bite that kind of cuts through a little bit.
Which, I mean, he had on the album versions too.
He did, but
you know, that just
seems
sound,
more
but
prominent.
Yeah.
Really nice, like, echo cutting through on his vocals on this. I don't know if that's just the concert hall the way it was recorded, or...
And Ritchie's solo is crazy. That's crazy.
His phrasing is so awesome, so interesting. Love it. See, just so incredible how he could start from like super heavy, almost quasi shredding, bust into like a Middle Eastern scale out of nowhere, and it's a blues song.
Yeah.
So he does all these unexpected or untraditional things, and they all work.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like classical, medieval in there. He's just bounces back and forth between all of these styles so interestingly.
But see, and then he's just like super quiet. The whole band just drops down.
And because of the noise gate I have on, which I wish I could turn off right now, I can barely hear it. My noise gate is like, yeah, there's nothing going on. Cut it all out. I think you guys can hear it on the stream, okay? But I'll have to do some editing in post. Greg Stevens says, Ritchie being Ritchie in full effect. Agreed.
I mean, this is probably like the period of like my favorite period of like Ritchie's playing.
Yeah.
Is in this era. I mean, obviously I appreciate him in all other ones, but this is where I was like, I probably liked his playing the most.
I'm sure if you dug up an interview, he'd be like, yeah, I played like shit on Made in Europe. It was garbage.
Yeah.
Which he always says. Anytime you're like, that's like the greatest Ritchie solo of all time. It's trash.
Yeah, I would bet against myself on loving that one. I'd be like, I bet that he just hates it. Like 100, like everything.
He'd listen.
100%.
He'd listen. He'd just take it off the turntable and like snap it over his knee. Garbage.
I don't want anybody listening to this ever again.
It's like, oh man, would you sign my record sleeve at least?
His record sleeve is garbage too.
Yeah, and Scott's mentioning that, you know, knowing this is the last recording or last gig, that Ritchie probably kicked it into high gear. It's interesting that he wouldn't be just, I'm done with this crap and not even care, but to give such a great performance. It does make it even more sad that as much as we love Mark IV, the brief Mark IV period, it's this Mark III was every bit as good and it just fell apart. It's a shame.
I mean, I love Coverdale and Hughes in the band, and the time that Tommy Bolin was with the band was great, but when I think of those two guys in the band, I really I love the Ritchie version of them, you know. Just because, I mean, at that point, like, you know, Ritchie's playing was overall so much better than Tommy Bolin's, which, you know, unfortunately was kind of at the end of his career and his life. Not to say that he didn't have his moments, but
what Steve Pilkington said about it. Pretty much. He mentions that this is the first recorded instance of David Coverdale's trademark. Here's a song for you. That's an interesting note.
Want you to come on home. Want you to come on home. Baby, 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 baby. I want you to rock me, baby. Rock me all night long.
I love
how they go into this.
Going into this like sleazy little blues riff.
I want you to rock me, baby.
I mean, just as good as like Ritchie's guitar playing as like Coverdale's singing on this.
Yeah, and it's got that crazy delay on it. You can just hear it just reverberating throughout the concert hall.
But I mean, even doing that last part, whether you're Coverdale later on, or Glenn Hughes or Ronnie singing it, it's like you can't do it like Coverdale did around this point.
And I can't get enough of that bass tone. Like, this is why I've always wanted a Rickenbacker, just that snarl, the way it cuts through the mix. It's perfect. Rich says the babies are where they lose me. Too many babies. Rock me, baby. Hey, baby.
Well, that's the other thing. Glenn Hughes playing during this is like another thing that's really unusual, because you're
Yeah,
and
he's
it's like,
throwing in and hit. I have always thought he doesn't get enough credit as a bass player. I mean, it probably just he's overshadowed by his voice, which is understandable. But like, people don't go around saying, "Oh, Freddie Mercury was the most amazing piano player." He was a great piano player, but
yeah.
his voice is obviously gonna leave that in the dust.
I mean, this band is like locked in. I mean, you're listening to a band on fire right now.
Yep. Even Somerville pointing out just that the last time that Ritchie would play with Glenn and David is pretty it's pretty amazing. We're very fortunate that we have it all on audio.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's some real high notes from Coverdale.
Or was that Glenn going his whoops?
No, I thought it was Coverdale going whoop. All right, here we go. Now, I'll be honest, I always thought it was weird that they included Lady Double Deal on this. I mean, it's a great performance, but it just seems like there'd be other songs that... And I think that's my main complaint about Made in Europe is, why didn't they make this a double album?
Right. Maybe they didn't have enough good songs. I don't know. Which, I mean, seems ridiculous, right?
I can't. I find it hard to believe out of the 3 nights they couldn't find more than 5 songs to include, given how well they're playing on the songs that are on.
Maybe they're too lazy.
But I think Lady Double Dealer is a great song, great rockin' song. But it seems like if you're gonna only have 5 songs on an album, I wouldn't include this one.
I mean, I like it because, I mean, I think that it was like one of the faster paced, like heavier songs on their most recent album at the time, and they, maybe they figured like, all right, we'll include this because, I mean, I don't know, Stormbringer maybe is a little too mellow for it. I don't know. I mean, this is pretty high energy, fast pace, which kind of goes along with the rest of the performances.
But it's almost poppy, the chorus. Very melodic. Hear this solo.
Just the way that they're all like playing together is
They're so tight.
oh yeah.
Alan's agreeing with you that he thought those high-pitched groups were Glenn and not David, so I'll have to listen back to that.
And plus you get a bonus John Lord keyboard solo,
Great organ here.
which you don't get on the album.
Oh yeah, right? I'm like looking over because I think it's an MP3, but it's not, so I can't know the runtime. I can always look at my MP3 to find out.
I think this was just extended by a little bit. I think
Yeah.
it's one of the shorter tracks.
right here. The various members of the band pursuing solo projects. Unlikely that the same lineup will ever appear on stage again. You got that right. Damn funky is right, Alan. Rich says this is one of his favorite Mark III songs. Yeah, it's got such great energy to it.
And I mean, this song definitely has like more energy live than on the album.
Yeah, I mean, it's good on the album, but
I mean, it was
almost,
made to be
it
played live.
feels more like filler on the album. And this on this one, I mean,
But hearing it live, it's like you could tell this song is made to be played live because it's heavy. It's a rocker.
well, like we talked about before, like a filler track from 70s Deep Purple is, even if you can tell this was probably a filler, it's still friggin' awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott says it could have been a budget-based decision about the double album.
Mm-hmm.
He says when Nobody's Perfect came out, every format had a different track listing because Polygram didn't want to do a double CD per Roger. So this might have been the same. So quite possible. See, it's great having the chat because we've got a bunch of people here that are way smarter than us.
Bunch of knowledgeable blokes.
Flip it over. So yeah, that was side one. Quick, 3 songs, only 2 songs in side 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just much different from our last 2 previous live albums, but yeah, so we'll go on to You Fool No One and Stormbringer. All right, here we go. Let's get everything ready here. We're gonna drop the needle on side 2 here, starting with You Fool No One.
Ah, yes.
A John favorite.
A John favorite indeed.
Here we go. It's going okay. Side 2, made in Europe. Oh wow.
What?
Alan's flight is even worse than I imagined.
You fool no one.
Love the extended John Lord
Ah.
solo at the beginning.
So good.
He
He
launches
starts
into,
off with this like little Bach fugue sort of thing.
then he launches into like Have Nagila, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it does. Nothing better than John, like John live, just hearing that echo and all the different things he does in concert. Always incredible. You guys are probably hearing it okay, but once again, our noise gate's cutting it out a little.
It'd be funny if like in the audience, like there was somebody like they're bouncing somebody on a chair, like
It's always funny when they throw something like that, like the crowd's just kind of silently listening to him do a solo, then they throw in Have Nagila, and I was like, woo! That's what tipped them over the edge. That any sort of recognition.
I just always liked hearing him have fun with stuff like that. You know, guitar players too, when they go into like kind of a familiar,
Yep.
you know, medley or song.
I'm barely even registering on my audio station here that this is recording. I'm like, I hope it's recording. Oh, so good.
And then the bass kicks in.
Oh,
I could listen to this all day on a loop.
asking in the chat if there was a Jewish wedding at the event. Or quite possible.
I just love
So
this.
good.
I just love this improv here.
Well, Rich is saying that Don picks a region-specific song to include in his solo each night. Scott says, "Eyes on the road, Rich," because he earlier said he was sleeping because he was going to listen to the car. Is that like Richie messing with the crowd again, or did he actually mess up the riff?
I think he was improvising on the riff.
Yeah.
I love the way he improvised on the riff.
Yeah, it's awesome, but it's not the riff.
Yeah.
So it's like sounds like he did that on purpose.
With Richie, who knows?
Rich says he's ironing right now, so eyes on the board. Thought he was going. Oh, he's probably ironing. He has an appointment, so we're like seeing Rich throughout his day. He's listening to us as he's like brushing his teeth. Now he's ironing his clothes, then he's going up for his meeting. It's great because it's got a very different feel from the album.
Oh yeah, I mean it's very energetic. It's all over the place. Especially like Richie, he's just taking all sorts of liberties with the song, and I love that.
It's the difference of them, a band that's been playing this for a while and has refined all the little intricacies they want to put into it. Lord's kind of going nuts in the background.
Part's so tight, I love it. And then Richie's solo is like incredible. Love it.
And John Lord and Glenn going to something completely different in the background there.
Yeah, it's just all put together. It's just great. Just like Richie is like a little more melodic in this solo.
And if you listen to just this part of the song in a vacuum, out of context, you wouldn't even know what song you were listening to.
Yeah.
And Richie was actually kind of throwing the melody line in there, which is interesting. Little rides on the offbeats.
Oh yeah. There he goes again. With his fast picking.
Really in a string raking mood on this song. He did that same little like pickup switch that he does on the album, which I always wondered if it was accidental because he leaves it in one pickup position for the first and then he switches it for the remainder because it's like, oops, that was the wrong one, and they just left it in. But it's so cool.
I never knew what this was, but I always liked it.
It's awesome.
Just them jamming.
It kind of almost sounds like that little jam they do in the concerto.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That little like kind of like happy band moment they have in part 2, I think.
Yeah.
You just see what you go. Such an emotional player.
I don't even know what this is.
That like classic little Ritchie blues section.
I mean, listen how good he plays the blues.
I mean, yeah, such a great blues player, but doesn't bust it out all that often. But when he does, like you said, he could throw in some weird like Mixolydian, Phrygian, whatever he's doing, whatever the like Middle Eastern scale he's using is, and
I'm like switches pickups like 6 or 7 times or whatever. But I always loved how the song went off in that other direction and then like came right back to this, and it was like,
I think Ritchie always said too he only ever uses the position 5 or position 1 on his switch. He doesn't, even though it's a 5-way switch in a Strat, he doesn't use anything in the middle.
yeah.
I think I read that somewhere. So that's why Heroes at that big. He's not just doing a little, because you have to be kind of gentle if you want to just move one position on that switch.
Yeah, but if he's like,
Yeah, he's like,
just like, hey, yeah.
oh yeah. Nope.
Skipped.
We'll skip on the old vinyl. John kicked the table.
Whoops.
Wow. Lynn is just assaulting that bass.
We got like really 3. This is why this song's so long. Is you got 3 solo sections in it.
Yeah, it's true.
You got one for Lord, one for Ritchie, and one for Paice.
For pace. We heard a 2021 drum solo reminiscent of the 70s. Now we're hearing a classic 70s drum solo.
And I mean, honestly, you know, I like drum solos more visually.
Yeah.
I mean, this one, like, honestly, I would like, I'd maybe like zone out a little bit more during the drum solo, as opposed to if I saw it live, if I like seeing a video of it.
I mean, I'm kind of like that with live music in general. I'm more of a visual guy when it comes to live music. I like to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, especially with like a drum solo. It's impressive to see what they're physically doing.
Mm-hmm.
Scott's asking if there's any video of the show. Sadly, not that I'm aware of.
Mm.
Yes, it was a big deal to do a video production back then. So, but it's a shame that they didn't record some of those. And we even have some video of Tommy in Japan when he couldn't use his arm, but we don't have video of this, unfortunately, which would have only been a year earlier. Not even a year. Yeah, imagine if there was a live video of Made in Japan and Made in Europe. I mean, that'd be incredible.
Jeez.
But now I don't think if a band was recording live, I don't think they'd even consider not doing video. Because it's back then, the amount of equipment and the size of the equipment and the cost of the equipment would have been so much to do the production. But nowadays, you could set up an iPhone on a tripod
Yeah,
and get video
yeah.
10 times better than anything could have gotten back then. I mean,
gonna
God,
say, it's
that
like,
video I took on this iPhone of the Dead Daisies the other night came out great.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, it looked great, sounded great. Who was it that said that? Was it Scott? Yeah, Scott said also the hazard insurance for the cameraman might have been prohibitive.
Yeah, if Richie's around, yeah.
Or they just have like a shot from like 300 feet away.
You see Richie like
He's throwing rocks or something.
come here. Come here.
You wouldn't act like such a tough guy if you brought that camera closer.
Yeah, try and take that shot from over here, tough guy.
Stephen Somerville says the Concerto 69 drum solo was really influential for him.
Yes.
More inspiring than some of his other solos. And we've always credited the Denmark 72 solo as that's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Very different synth sound he has on this one for the intro.
Yeah, which at first I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be the same as on the album, but I actually like it because it's like a heavy live John Lord.
It's like this really aggressive like saw wave, or I don't know exactly what he's using, but it sounds really heavy. Now, isn't this like an 8-minute version or something? Like the one on the album is fairly short, like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
It's really interesting that on this tour they wouldn't have opened with Storm Memory. I know Burn was still a big opener for them.
Well, maybe it didn't, I mean, this song doesn't have that opening song impact, opening the show impact,
Scott Haskin is saying the Made in Japan drum solo for him. Another very popular one. I wonder what the full set list, I mean, I can just look it up, but the full set lists of these shows were, because Ritchie, was probably vetoing a lot of songs at this point. Nope, not doing that one, not doing that one.
Nope. We can do this one that was written by King Richard III. Nope. Maybe. Nope.
So Stormbringer would have been the second song that they did.
Oh, so this is another one where obviously the songs were done out of order. I mean, this isn't representative of the whole concert, this whole album. just a good collection of songs.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta get the Graz in Paris shows. I think I have them somewhere, but I don't know if I've ever listened to them. So here's the set list. Burn, Stormbringer, The Gypsy. Would have loved to hear that. I guess I can if I get Graz in Paris on. Lady Double Dealer, Mistreated, Smoke on the Water, You Fool No One, Space Trucker. Then the encore, Going Down, and Highway Star.
I mean, I feel like if they cut out the Mark II songs, they could have had a few more.
Yeah, because it's 3 Mark II songs. So the only one they're missing is The Gypsy.
Well, maybe they didn't feel that was strong enough performance or something.
But it was a weird period for the band where they would have had to include those big hits.
But I mean, you already had Space Truckin' and Highway Star and everything on the other live album.
Right. And they were doing this
And I
20-minute version of it too.
And I mean, truthfully, those versions with Mark III were not that great.
Nah, I don't care for that too much. Rich says his favorite Paice solo is the Rudiments video. Have you ever seen that? I actually was showing that to my son because he's starting percussion for band, and they were teaching him how paradiddle. So I was like, I got a great video for Ian Paice. Played it the parrot, showed him how to do paradiddles. And Ian Paice starts going so fast you can't even see his hands, and my son's like eyes are popping out. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I was like, thank you very much. They ended as like that was the second song they would have played that night. Then this is probably where they just did a little creative editing because they would have been probably going into the next song. They just let the crowd chant for a while.
Right.
So you can listen. You can hear that whistle.
I can.
So you can hear it looping. If it wasn't for that whistle, I don't think you'd be able to detect it. That's a short loop. It's like a 3-second loop. Woo woo.
But it's so weird because when you zone in on it and pay attention to it, it sounds like a loop. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you could definitely tell, but I mean, being unaware of it, I mean, and I mean, I could see why they did that. I mean, that's a really kind of nitpicky thing to focus in on, for editing. I mean, obviously if that was the second song on the set and they wanted to make it sound like the crowd was cheering as they left the stage, they would have to put in more crowd noise.
Right.
Otherwise the album would sound weird.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah,
they
exactly.
were fading it out.
Second song. Oh, thank you, and then just ends. You got to cut it off before they go into what was the next song they played, like "Smoke on the Water" or something. Yeah, wow. So that's Made in Europe. Very, very enjoyable listen.
Oh yeah,
I'm really liking these live album live streams. Not for the least of which reason is that it's, they're pretty easy shows to put together.
yeah.
Other than all this craziness that we're looking at, but it's a lot of fun. It's like, yeah, that's it. And then Steve Pilkington sums it up expertly at the end of his talk on Made in Europe. And with that, Deep Purple Mark III are gone. And that's it. Definitely buy this book though. If you are subscribed and listening to the show, you should have this book because it's not super long. It's about 126 pages or something.
Mm-hmm.
But just chock full of like some good information. There's a few cool pictures in there, but it's mostly just his writing on every song, on every album, and a little bit of background on the album facts, the album cover, and some of the other stuff. So it's an essential, very affordable thing to have in your library. Oof! And with that, with the last few live streams, we've hung around a little bit after the live stream. Today, I don't think we're going to be able to hang around too much because we do have to get John to the airport.
Yeah, we could probably hang around for like a little bit.
Probably hang around for a few minutes. But that's it. And we'll putting the album away, putting the album to bed.
I would say that this album overall, like I would give it a 5 for a live album. For performances. I like that it's brief. I mean, it's kind of like tragic,
Brief, just like Mark III.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's kind of tragic that it's such a short live album, like on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like, okay, you get like 5 like really good songs and there are no repeats from like I said, if that whole set that they were playing, they included Mark II songs, it would have been, in my opinion, like substandard, to what they should sound like Highway Star, Space Truck, and like leave that stuff off. It would have been great if they had like Might Just Take Your Life or something like that on there too. Like, but at that point they weren't playing it, but yeah, I would say like I was thinking 4.5, for the briefness of the album, but I would say give it a 5.
Yeah, it's definitely concise.
Yeah. And I mean, everything from like the album cover, which is just like, that just so cool looking, just like the whole look and, the packaging and the contents within just kind of gives you a look at what the power of that band was at the time.
Yep. Stephen Somerville said his dad's first ever record was Last Concert in Japan. Imagine that.
That was the Tommy Bolin one, right?
So yeah, he said it sounds like Stephen Somerville's first was this, he says after hearing this, he said it would have been better for him to start off with Made in Europe, because that obviously the Tommy Bolin one thing. Scott Haskins says, love these live streams. Safe travels, John.
Thanks, Scott.
Alan Beggs says Mark III still has his vote. Chris says, thanks, guys. I'll go to bed now. It's 1:30 a.m. Tuesday morning. Oh, my God. Chris, thank you for joining us all the way from Australia.
Woo.
Oh, my goodness. This time zones are crazy. Deep Purple fans are too spread out. Steve Cole says this was his first Deep Purple album when he was working in college radio in Boston University. Not too far from us. Metal Blade sent their reissue for this. Stormbringer come taste the band to the station. All 3 of them accidentally came home with him at the end of the year.
Accidentally.
We've all had accidents like that. So Alan says he's thinking about seeing Whitesnake on their farewell tour, but he's a little reserved about David's vocals lately, which, there's been some live performances where I know he's struggling a little bit, but they got Dino in the band now. So who knows? It's still confusing a lot of people as far as what his role is going to be.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, a chance to see, a legend live.
Well, I think he's at the age now, and his voice is in the condition now where he's got some good nights and he's got some rougher nights, and he's not, he is of his age, and he's not some freak of nature like Glenn Hughes who can somehow sing just as well as he did.
I mean, I've seen him perform like, in the past couple of years, and I mean, it's not like you're going to see like, some of these acts that are going out now who should have hung it up. Like, I mean, if, you hear everything from, and I mean, they're mostly 80s acts, but I mean, if you hear from anybody from like, Rat, Doc, and Motley Crue, like any of their singers and whatever configurations the bands are like, people are just like, yeah, they just sound terrible now. But I mean,
it's tough for the singers.
But I mean, I don't think that Coverdale has a night like that. You know what I mean? Or I mean, I'm sure he has a night that bad, but I mean, like consistently, I think that he is still, he's letting, he's altering. When I saw him, he's altered some parts, especially like Still of the Night, which is like,
oh God, yeah, that's
he gets up there. I mean, he takes vocal help from
You're the still of the night. Let's bring that down an octave.
But I mean, he lets the background vocalist help him out. He alters it for his voice now a little bit. So I mean, it's like he's still it's a good show still to see. At least what I last saw.
He's got the guitar players are using 6-string basses. No, still of the night, strumming these big. Got to tune down a little bit. So anyway, so yeah, Alan says, honestly, I'm fine with a wee bit of backing tracks live. It's the whole package. John's other favorite band, allegedly, likes to talk, Kiss is doing that. And we're all fine with that too. It's just, it's a show. It's a performance you're putting on.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't really matter to me. I mean, if it's a show like we went to see the other night, like the Dead Daisies, I would expect a live performance because it's a smaller show.
And it's Glenn Hughes,
right.
He can do it.
When you have a more scaled up show or something where the performance is, like a big part of it, then yeah.
Well, if they took out a stand and then they put say the Dead Daisy CD on the stand and then and then played the CD over the loud system and yeah, thanks everybody for coming, I'd be pretty disappointed. But you're still seeing the guys, you're seeing the people who did it. I mean, I saw Glenn Hughes. I was just a few feet away from Glenn Hughes. That's enough for me. And
Exactly.
and of course they did everything live, but nobody complains about that with movies. Hey, he didn't really jump through that explosion. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, you ever see it makes me think of the Bobcat Goldthwait. Have you ever heard his stand up?
Not for a while.
Well, he had a couple of albums, and there was one where he's it was back when I guess the George Lucas was redoing and putting in scenes in Star Wars, and he went to see, and they're just fake, people yelling out fake, that's fake, and he's yeah, that's fake, not like the real Chewbacca.
They didn't even get the real Chewbacca.
It's at what point does it become ridiculous? It's just enjoy the entertainment for what it is.
Well, Stephen Colwell says, I put a farewell performance from Coverdale in the same categories of farewell from Paul Stanley. The voice may be going, but he's still one of the greatest rock front men of all time.
Absolutely.
Well said. All right. So before we go, we do have to thank our foundation level patrons coming in at the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier: Peter Gardeau, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Andrew Meyer, Duncan Leeskin, Stuart McCord. And at the $1 made up name tier, Els Murders, Spacey Noodles, the desperately in need of flex tape, Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 fanatic, Ralph Caff, Spike the Rock Cat, JJ Stenard, Hank the Tank, and Flight of the Rat Bat Blue Light. Thank you to all of you. Some of you even on the stream right now. We appreciate you guys stopping by. With that, we'll kind of call an end to another live stream and another episode. And when we see you next, well, based on I'm losing the timeline. The timeline for this is absolutely bananas. But next week we'll be at you for sure, remote once again. But we'll try to do some of these remotely, because this would be easy enough to do if you were remote as well. And it was a fun thing to just kind of throw this together since you were going to be here. Was pretty easy to just put together once I figured out the logistics of it. And we'll be back at you with a more of our normal episodes. So Alan says he's already halfway through the Dead Daisies pod. Was he listening in one ear to that one and one ear?
Or you could have heard earlier.
Yes, hopefully it came out good. We really had to throw that together fast and edit it together really fast. So I've been known to make editing mistakes and then all of a sudden release one without John or without the audio, and all of a sudden it's a ruined episode. Usually I get to quickly correct them. But anyway, that is it for this one. Got to bring John to the airport.
That's it for me. I'm leaving the great state of Illinois.
And we might have we probably have a few minutes to stick around after the cast. So thank you once again to everybody, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.